Hello, this is Greg Allison of Green Greg's Garden and Worm Farm coming to you on 11 March 2020. On this day, the World Health Organization has finally declared the COVID-19 infection as a pandemic. We're going to talk about news, the latest on this virus, and I'm going to talk to you about perspective. I'm going to talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly of this outbreak. Greg, how can there possibly be any good? Well, we're going to talk about that. It's not good because there's still the bad and the ugly, but there's some things that this may help us adjust to. I'll cover that in the course of this video. So you're going to definitely want to watch that, but we're going to have to start with the news of this pandemic now that we're in. I found it highly interesting that the World Health Organization came out with this announcement talking about this thing, because one of the things they said was, we're deeply concerned about the alarming the alarming levels of inaction. The alarming levels of inaction across the countries. Really, WHO? You're the ones who would not call it a pandemic until today, or the rest of us are only on board. So, welcome on board with this. But it might not have been really encouraging a lot of countries to take the actions that they might have taken otherwise had you already had announced what most of us already knew. This is a pandemic. In any event, so I'm going to go here now to the share with you what's happening. So let's go to share. I'm going to pull this up from the Johns Hopkins site, as you can see here. You may recall that last Saturday, Dr. Paul Cottrell and I, yes, doctor, not medical doctor, but doctor, a PhD is rightfully titled doctor. I know, I live in a town that has more PhDs per capita than any other city in the world. And I have done monthly programs with PhDs as guest speakers for years. And we always list them that way. That is protocol, my friends, for those that want to argue with it. I want to hear no more on that topic. Let's move on. When he and I were having that session, the case load in the United States was 474 confirmed cases. Well, my friends, look at this. The United States, as of right now, let's hit the update button. It may have already changed. Because when he and I were talking about 3 hours, the case load went up by 60. And of course, they're up. Yes, it has. How about that? It's already changed. 1,276 cases in the U.S. Now, the total confirmed cases here, as you know, I highly suspect because of many reasons. One is political ambitions or motives of certain countries such as communist China and Iran, who have objectives to put on the best shoe and look as good as possible to the rest of the world. So you've got to really wonder about the numbers they're reporting. That's a nice big number there for Iran, exactly 9,000. I mean, by round number, not that it's nice that there's 9,000 people that has it. That's not nice. Some people have said, oh, this is an Oriental disease, an Asian disease, and blah, blah, blah. I've had that kind of information sent to me just as lately as a couple of days ago, to which I responded that, my friends, just have a look. The Italians and Iranians are getting this in very large numbers, and Iranians are not Asian, they're Caucasian. So do keep that in mind. The Iranian people are a Caucasian people. They're not even Arabic. And so in no way are they an Asian people, except they live in Asian. So if they're Asian, so are we, because we're Caucasian too. Although maybe with some European modifications for cold weather adaptations, light skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, and whatever else we may sprout, red hair, whatever. So, we have climate, we adapt to whatever climate we're in, but they are Caucasian. So the interesting thing is that this thing is now exploding to the point where there are more new cases outside of China than inside of China. Now, therein lies some hope, and that there can be containment measures. Is China correct? Are their numbers correct? No, I still don't trust them. And I would still think that their new cases may be higher than this, because China is facing the dilemma all nations are going to be facing. That dilemma is you've got to choose between containment of the contagion and maintaining your economy, because the tighter you get on this, the more this vanishes. If the economy totally crumbles, your health system is going to collapse anyway. The hospitals, I mean, everything's going to fall apart because there's like no money. Infrastructure will fall apart. You've got to keep some of this going. So they have to release a little bit on it. They need to clamp down on this as much as they can to keep the infectivity down for a spell. But at some point, they've got to open it up to some degree. But the more they open it up, there is a risk that the contagion will get too hot. It will burn too fast and offer to damage both. You can't wipe out your country, but you can't wipe out your economy. So you got to maintain the population and the economy. And these are terrible numbers to look at. It looks like you're just looking at, oh, well, it's just economics. All these countries don't care about the people. Well, if the economy crashes, the population suffers too, especially if your power grid goes down. Yeah, you can have mass death in your country, more than a contagion might give to you. So you don't want the medicine to be worse than the cure. In many respects, in many regards, that can be the case. And that's something a lot of you are concerned about from many different angles. However, bear it in mind that we're going to be talking about quarantine. That's going to be one of the topics I'm about to launch into more. And we're going to be talking about the economies. How do you live in this kind of a world? Because it's not just a government mandated quarantine you're going to be living on. You're going to be living with self-quarantine. People are going to decide they don't want to go to work. That is what's going to turn our world upside down. And that's what this video is about. We're in a new world, an upside down world where everything's going to be different going forward. We don't know how long this is going to last. Let me show you. What we're accustomed to is this idea, my friends, that a virus is a winter, like a flu, is a wintertime phenomenology. It goes on in the winter and it abates and dies off in the summertime. It might come back the next winter, being transferred from the other hemisphere, north to south hemisphere. You get some cross-pollination and these viruses stay in large number. People often say, Greg, why are we so worried about this when the flu kills tens of thousands a year? Well, because the flu is already out there in millions of people, and it spreads back and forth, north and south, or lies dormant, or whatever it does, but it resurfaces every year in full force. And so those numbers are reflective of something that's affected millions already, not 100,000 or however many this really is. This probably is closer to 1 million, maybe. But because the other thing in this is lack of testing. So, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute too. If you take a look at this map and you scan the southern hemisphere, my friends, that's what some of you may have noticed I was scanning through the southern hemisphere when I was talking to Paul Cottrell. Dr. Paul Cottrell. Yes, doctor. And you may have noticed, but I didn't talk about it because we were both talking about other stuff, but I was definitely depicting and showing the southern hemisphere in that video. The reason I was doing that is because it's summer down there. This is still burning hot in the southern hemisphere in summer. And look here on the equator, my friends, on the equator, equatorial hot countries. See, the whole idea is that if you're out where you're in the sun and getting vitamin D, you're not going to be catching the flu. Well, my friends, something is cooking here. Something is definitely cooking. Look at Sydney, 65 cases here. And, well, that's New South Wales. Victoria, look here, Queensland. Look, the cases are huge. You know, huge cases. A lot of people down there in Australia. Let's come up here to Indonesia area. We got 34 here, 149 there, Malaysia, Brunei, 11, Singapore, 178 in Singapore. This little island down here, the Maldives, has got 8. Holy smoke. Yeah, that's really close to the equator. The equator runs right through here. Southern Hemisphere, South Africa, 13. Let's see, here in Argentina, 19. Chile, 23. Brazil, 38. Long ago, the United States was at that kind of number. 5 in Paraguay. Bolivia, 2. Miss everywhere. Peru, 11. Ecuador, 17. Colombia, 9. Here, Panama, 8. Costa Rica, 13. Yeah, this is northern hemisphere up here, but that's still pretty warm. The equator. runs right about here. There's actually a little bit of Brazil that's in the northern hemisphere, just a little slice up here. So it's summer, and the cases are there. What are those cases going to do this fall? Is this area going to look like this area? Will it abate up here in the summertime? We don't know. That's why they call this the novel coronavirus, because it's new. Novel means new in this case. So what we do have hope in is that China has contained their contagion to some degree. Italy is now locking down 60 million of their people, and with the hopes of containment. South Korea has been very proactive in testing, trace contact analysis, and spot quarantine, whatever was required. I think South Korea is an example of keeping this under control. I mean, at one time they were right under China, and what you've seen is both Italy and Iran have blown north of South Korea. South Korea is apparently doing a really good job of trying to keep this under control. So, and now Italy is going to try to do that. Italy is instigated quarantine. So we might look to other countries. Taiwan has done really well with this, all things considered. I would say that Singapore has done well, even though they've got a few cases over there down here, 178. They had cases very early on in Singapore. So there are countries that are doing the right kind of things. And the key thing that they're doing in South Korea is testing, lots of testing. There was a congressional testimony this morning. There was a hearing held in the House of Representatives. And the chair lady, being a Democrat, was really attacking the administration for a lack of testing. The test kit's not coming out. And, she had a good point in that case. The people from the administration side did defend the administration on all the things they did early on, how they were proactive. I don't think anybody is proactive enough. So it did have a political dimension, even though both sides were trying to say they were trying to stay away from politics. And you can just figure in this country, any debate's going to have some political dimension to it. And they did argue from that standpoint. I hope we can come together and look at this more from a standpoint of prevention rather than politics, because we got a lot of work in front of us. Canada really has a lot of cases up here. British Columbia, 39. Canada only has 35 million people, my friend. So Ontario, 41. Quebec, 7. Here in Alberta, 14. I have been in Alberta. I've been to British Columbia. I've been in Ontario. No cases in Alaska or the Yukon Territory. Yeah, I never got sick the whole time I lived in Alaska. And I have driven through here, by the way, my friends. So what I don't like today is that they have quit showing you what counties this is in. They just started to concentrate on states. And you'll see around me, Georgia, 23. Tennessee, 9 cases, Louisiana, 6, and Florida with some deaths at 28. So New York City has a supercluster in the town of New Rochelle, and they're basically putting New Rochelle under some type of quarantine, not a hard lockdown quarantine, but they say it's pretty much in lockdown. Schools are closing, public gatherings have been limited. The National Guard is there, but more in a monitor and cleanup capacity at the moment. So New Rochelle of New York has over 108 cases in that one community. And apparently a lot of it is linked to a synagogue. So it's the public gatherings, the churches, as in South Korea. The public gatherings, the churches are places where this stuff is being spread. So we've got to learn the lessons of in times like this, of limiting mass public contact, limiting where you go where there's lots of people, limiting the intimacy in those places. Italy, with its 60 million under quarantine, is requiring you stay more than 3 feet away from other people, or they can arrest you and put you in jail for 3 months, packed in with a bunch of other people, I suppose. Not where I'd want to be right now. So let's go here and just open up the U.S. case. For those of you here, usually when you do this, it updates over here. Update right, it started to. There you go. It keeps flipping on me. Why's it doing that? All right. Wow. Because I'm double clicking. 37 deaths in the United States. For the United States, 37 divided by 12. Well, I had about 1220 earlier, but this is still on the scale of 3% case fatality rate. That's why this thing matters. It's not the flu. The flu has a case fatality rate of 0.1% or 1 out of 1,000. This is 3 out of 100 or 30 out of 1,000. Much higher case fatality rate. It's far more infectious than the flu. Greg, millions have the flu and diarrhea, or thousands of what I hear. Well, it'll be worse with this as it spreads. This is just getting started. The flu doesn't scare hospital workers and doctors. This kills hospital workers and doctors. Big difference. I don't know anybody in my life. I am about to hit 60 years old. I have never met or known a person that died of the flu. And I was watching some poll run where people have been asked if they knew anybody that died of the flu, and everybody said no, 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 no. So I'm beginning to think that 1 in 1,000 number is not even correct. I'm thinking that is the pharmaceutical industry just trying to pump up people to scare them to go get the flu shot. So I'm thinking that number is totally bogus, but this number is not bogus because people are dying. This is a different disease. I don't believe the 1 in 1,000. I'll just be honest. I don't think 1 in 1,000 people die of the flu. I think that some smaller number dies of complications when they have the flu, and it may often be the other complication. I don't think it's 1 in 1,000. I don't buy it. I think that's a trumped up number. Pull out your analysis, your studies, and your white papers, and I will probably tend to disbelieve them. I don't care where they come from, because I really believe that in a lot of cases, when reports come out in so-called scientific studies, there's a heavy finger on the scale because they're usually industry sponsored or sponsored by entities that have other agendas like to promote, their sales, like the pharmaceutical industry. I think that's where it comes from, because they want you to take that flu shot. Hey, I could be wrong. I hope I am. Excuse me. I'm just clicking through some other things here. I was wanting to show you this real quick, and we'll move on. And so I still got to talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly. But before we go into that, and a little bit more news on this, I'm going to talk a little bit more news before we go into the good, bad, and the ugly. I just want to mention this. You need to be prepared. It may be too late to go in the store and buy things. Shelves are getting emptied out. You might still find some things. Some areas you're not going to find the things you want. So food, beans, rice, macaroni, ramen noodles, stuff that's cheap, stores long, Spam, canned meats, canned vegetables. Canned fruits don't last as long, but they still last for a pretty good time. Anything that's acidic will tend to break down the can. But these really long-term food storage is great. It's easy to store, and they're specials. But now look, there's an alert down here. It says the storable food is 50 times higher in volume and demand right now. Everybody's going for it. So there's some delays in 6 to 8 weeks in some cases, not everything, but in some cases. So you may not get everything as quick as you want it. Well, you might have a couple weeks before they slam down in quarantine, maybe a little bit longer. So maybe some of the stuff that you buy at your local grocery store, your local big box store might hold you over until you really need this. I mean, if you look in China today in Wuhan, they went into shutdown on the 23rd of January. That's 2 months ago. Now, there might be some relaxation of that, but they're still pretty much in quarantine, pretty much in shutdown. And even if it starts relaxing, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to self-quarantine. The store's going to have a hard time restocking, my friends. So you better consider that, we need to look at what is available, and it's time to prep. It's time to get supplies. Also, you can get seeds. You can go to my links that I put below my channel to True Leaf Market for seeds to grow your own food. That's what you really need to do, is grow your own food. But you need something to hold you over, because you're probably still a novice to growing your own food. I have so many people, I got to do is put a seed in the ground. Yeah, right. You need practice. So I do videos. I cover videos telling you how to do it, though. So check out my videos, how to grow food indoors, outdoors, aquaponics, microgreens in the house, living room. Yes, you can grow food in your living room. And you can get all the supplies from True Leaf Market. But here I'm showing you the deals with my Patriot Supply. I'll go more in detail with True Leaf Market in a subsequent video coming real soon. So just look at this, my friends. These savings are huge. Look at that. Look at this. Right now, you can get deep, deep discounts if you go to preparewithgreg.com. Actually, it's prepwithgreg.com. You don't put in prepare. Put in prepwithgreg, Greg.com. Prepwithgreg.com, and you can get $100 off, $100 discount on a 4-week supply. You can get about a $70 discount on a 2-week supply. That's hard to beat. And you can get all kind of other prepping supplies through My Patriot Supply. They're all here. There's a lot of stuff available. So you can just click through here. You can find all the other links to so many other things here. My Patriot Supply has a lot that's available to you. You don't want to see this, but that's what's coming. So this is why you want to go here. All right, enough of that. So let's move on. We'll go back to, in fact, maybe I'll stop the share here. Good time to stop share. There we go. So go back to the testimony this morning. Dr. Redfield with the Center for Disease Control. He talked about 10 to 15% of the people with this illness gets severely ill, critically ill. They don't, it kills 3%, but you get 10 to 15% that are severely ill. This, my friends, is why we're talking about, and I've heard the number as high as 2 in 10, 20%. But when you get something spreading this wide, that many people getting ill, that's when your hospital beds fill up. When your hospital beds fill up completely and overflow, you have a tragedy in the medical industry. And that can spill over to other people needing treatment for other things. If you have a family member that needs cancer treatment, if you need to go to the hospital for X, Y, or Z, it might be impossible because they may be all choked up with people that are suffering from this disease. Our hospitals are not built with a great amount of overcapacity. Everything in our society is pretty much just in time. So therein lies the problem. And that's when the cities and states are going to get their attention woken up. That's where the emergency management people start calling for quarantine, because when the hospital beds fill up, that's when you're going to see some measure of quarantine. That's when things are going to clamp down. That it will be the key indicator when the hospital beds start filling up. Now, of course, what you need to know is this stuff is already spreading under the carpet, because this stuff has an incubation period of like up to 24 days before you show symptoms, and you spread it while you're asymptomatic. And Dr. Redfield admitted that today. So that was interesting. And also might add that there was a Dr. Fauci, at least his pronunciation, he was talking about the development of vaccines and therapy treatments. And he talked about how these would take some bit at a time, especially the vaccines, because they got to be proven in phase 1 for safety, and phase 2 does it work, the efficacy of the vaccine. And phase 1 can take up to 3 months, and phase 2 maybe up to 8 months or longer, as if it works. They have a favorite candidate, which is an RNA messenger platform, like Dr. Paul Cottrell talked about weeks ago on my channel here. And the thing he talked about there is that we need transparency into what they're actually developing. Do you want to take an injection of something you don't know the pedigree of? You don't know the details and what went on? Just a question. So that's kind of an update of the news. You know where we're at. You know this thing is spreading. You know it can spread under the carpet. You know you need to prepare. I've told you that. You know you need to take care of your health. You know if you don't have these, you may have trouble getting them. That is your N95 mask. My local Lowe's is sold out now. They don't even have painter's masks. And you also know there's correct procedures for wearing them. One, you probably want to shave. Basically, I bought those because a couple of guys that work for me here had the flu. And apparently it got really bad with them. They're not coming in right now. And I've been a bit sick myself. In fact, I've taken off a couple of days because, I don't know if you might hear a little hoarseness in my voice. I'm better. I had a headache. I had those, that feeling you get when you're about to come down with something that started on me Monday evening, actually, while I was at work. And I felt like I was about to hit the flu. But as you know, I take a lot of vitamin C, D3, K2, and I just ate some elderberry jelly, which is antiviral. I've been taking a lot of these other things. I think I've knocked it out. I have a pretty strong immune system. So I think I'm knocking out whatever it was that ailed me. There was a crud going around the office. It seemed like everybody in the office was hacking, coughing, sneezing, sniffling. So there is a general crud going around this time of the year, is what you expect. But that also makes it hard to distinguish and detect when this thing comes in. As this thing spreads, your suspicions has to be more and more that it's this thing, especially again when you understand the nature of something that spreads with a high infectivity rate of R naught equal 4 or greater, that's asymptomatically spread in people for over 3 weeks. That is a prescription for a wildfire breaking out all at once everywhere from something that was burning underneath the carpet for a few weeks and then popping up everywhere. So how can there be a good and what is the bad in the ugly of this situation? Do check out, I will put a link below to my sister channel, Galactic Greg's. No Galactic, he just has a good time. And he was pointing out the effects of the COVID-19 virus on the aerospace community. And he went quite in detail into how it could affect the industry as an industry supply chain and how it can affect things on a positive side, actually. So that's what I'm going to talk about here. In fact, I plan to launch a whole series of videos talking about how to live under quarantine and live well, how to thrive, how to make the most out of a bad situation. This is something we need to understand. I started 2 power grid defense conferences with the opening line that, hey, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how tough the going is, no matter how bad, always rest with the solace that there is a silver lining around every mushroom cloud. All right, that's kind of rough. That's rough humor, but for those that don't understand, a mushroom cloud is a nuclear explosion. So, all right, I'm going long here. I don't want to go so long. So let me cut to the chase here. The good is kind of multifold. One, it's a good thing that we're having to learn to live with these situations of quarantine and what it's imposed on our society with a virus, COVID virus, instead of the Ebola virus, or instead of human transmissible bird flu. The bird flu was causing fatality rates in people, case fatality rates of like 50 to 60%, at least 50%. And some knuckleheads in 2 different laboratories on this planet saw fit to develop a human transmissible version of that. And if we should have the misfortune of human error that might cause something like that to escape from the lab, which is a big premise of this book, Our Final Hour, written by Sir Martin Rees, the astronomer royal of Great Britain, United Kingdom, I should say, then you should understand that things do get out of labs. There is things that accidentally escape. There's always a possibility of an employee who has malevolent intentions also, for whatever case may be. So, and that's a risk. Humans are humans. We make mistakes. Some people are malevolent. Some people, 1 out of 100 at least, are sociopathic. They have no empathy. Consider that. And they usually wind up working their way up in organizations. They're usually smart people, and they desire power. So these are things to be concerned with, very much. The hope is that we learn how to live with and prepare to build our society more resilient, such that if we do get a bird flu, such as if we do a human transmissible bird flu, such as if we get an airborne Ebola, and I'm already here, oh, Greg, Ebola only spreads on contact with body fluids and blood and things like that. There's no such thing as an airborne Ebola. That is true. Well, no, that is not true, actually. There's not a human airborne Ebola. In rest of Virginia, back in the 90s, they had monkeys in 2 separate labs. The only connection they had between them was the ventilation shaft. And monkeys on one side had Ebola, and it mutated into an airborne transmissible version. and went through the ventilator shaft and affected monkeys in the other lab. And it is known as Ebola. Ebola restin or restin Ebola. Look it up. You can find it on the internet. Ebola restin. Yes, there is an air transmissible Ebola. That would be a heck of a nightmare. And it was here in the United States. But fortunately, it was not something that people were catching, and they eliminated it. Thank goodness. But that does not mean that it can't happen again. And it doesn't mean we couldn't see something like that. See, here's the thing with our modern world. The modern world, we have mass transportation of people all over the place. We have mass transportation of goods, which have services that some things can live on. This COVID-19 virus is said to be capable of living on some surfaces for up to 9 days, particularly paper products. Not so much metal, but other things, softer surfaces, more context. It can survive longer. Metals are something of an antiviral, by the way, because mostly I would assume it's because the outer level of the electrons are kind of a free flow level valence shell where the electrons can be shared from atom to atom, which gives you a little bit of a current. That may be why that they don't do well. That's maybe why colloidal silver works. It may be why copper tubing actually kills bacteria. And it should not be used in an aquaponics system because bacteria is needed to make your aquaponics system work. So don't want to use copper plumbing in your aquaponics system. Yes, I do aquaponics, so I know these things. Now, there's more hope. There's even more hope. The other hope is this, that we can learn to change our society in such a way that we're doing more work from home, that we're doing more distributed manufacturing. Having all the manufacturing in China or any one place really reduces the resiliency of your society, of your economy, of your country, of the world. The most resilient systems are those that are broadly distributed. And that kind of goes against maybe the powers and dreams of globalism. I would submit that some infrastructure you would want in place to enhance this, such as work at home capabilities, do lend themselves to certain aspects of centralization through the mass communication and computerization that's required to do that. Okay, so you got to give up something, and we do need some industry. And I'm sure Elon Musk would be happy to hear that because he's trying to launch his Skylink satellite network. And we know that this is you're going to need factories, you're going to need some centralization, but the office work, the clerical work, the engineering work, most of this can be done from home. This is what's on the Galactic channel. Most of this can be done from home. A lot of it can be. The whole idea that we got to meet and see each other face to face is so 20th century. Give me a break. We've got all the tools, the technology, the software in place to do things and work at home. And there's ways and metrics of being able to tell what people are doing. So they're not sloughing off, they're getting paid appropriately. In fact, people probably waste more money time at work around the office cooler and people just chatting and talking to each other. By having more work from home opportunities, you also make sure your workforce is more relaxed because they're not fought the traffic to get to work. They don't waste 2 hours a day going back and forth in the gas and the infrastructure and all the requirements to keep that going. If you have more work from home opportunities, you have less demand on the infrastructure, less highways, bridges. You don't need all the meetings. You don't need buildings like we have. You can get rid of office space. That can be converted to other purposes. You won't need the utilities that you have today. You don't need all the distributed systems we have today, except like communications. And we do need to maintain the power grid from failing, something I've been promoting here for a long time. But you can dramatically change the way society operates. This is why I said this COVID virus is going to turning the world upside down, but there's some good side to that. We can take advantage of it. I do believe that we should have more additive manufacturing, more local manufacturing. We should break this stuff apart as much as possible. You'll see some factories will still need to be centralized, and that will be roboticized more and more. A lot of the clerical functions, a lot of the stuff in your fast food will be roboticized. You're going to see more and more, especially as pressure, the increased wages goes up because these places just aren't going to pay $15 an hour to make a hamburger. No, they won't. They've already said they'll roboticize if that those laws gets passed. So the other thing is that you as an individual need to learn how you can make a living on your own. You need to learn what your skills are, what your opportunities are, how you can make it through these kind of times under a quarantine environment, whether you choose to self-quarantine or you're told to quarantine, whether this COVID-19 blows out and maybe this is the end of it after this one go around, or if it comes around again like the 1918 Spanish flu, which was around for 2 years. So are we under this for 2 years? We don't have immunity to this, so it could be around longer. There are people suggesting we may be facing this for several years, maybe 5, 7. We don't know. It could be over next week. I doubt that, but it could be. The thing is, we've got to learn how to live with these kind of environments. This is the opportunity now to learn to work at home. And the work at home will actually improve the workplace. It will improve industries. They will get more efficient, and employees will be more satisfied. Plus, it also means if you're a prepper and you want to live way out in the woods somewhere, but you can make a living through your office job by teleworking. There's so many people, I can't get to my bug out location. It's 60 miles away. Well, move there and work from home from your telework capabilities at your bug out location. Then you can afford a bug out home. You know, maybe you can't afford a home and a bug out home, but now your home is the bug out home. So there's a lot of opportunity. We need to decentralize people anyway. We've got all the people in cities. 90% of the people in the world today are in cities, which was not the case when the 1918 flu spread. When the 1918 flu spread, there was not international airports of people traveling everywhere. So the world today is a perfect petri dish for pandemics, whether it be the bird flu, Ebola, or disease X. Some people are saying this is disease X. There could be many other things come along. Our world is ripe for this, absolutely ripe for diseases, pandemics, one after another, because of our centralization of populations in the major mega cities. Because, and you know, some people claim the solution to fix the world is to put everybody in the cities. This Agenda 2030, this beautiful thing. We'll have forever world, wild. We'll have beautiful wild spaces. No, everything's going to collapse. That is a prescription for a disaster. There's no resiliency in those plannings. We've got to have a resilient society. I have concepts for homes that are far more resilient, for communities that are far more resilient. An idea that we need to form tribes to be able to survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive, to get through all these things. So this is our opportunity to start working these things. This is where there's opportunity in this. And you learning how to make a living from your own home. You're honing your skills for this. There are many things you could do. And I'll be covering it. I'm going to start a whole new video series where I'll be covering these kind of things. That's coming out real soon, maybe next week, possibly later this week. But this new video series, we'll start covering these things a little bit by little bit. We'll grow into it. It may evolve into kind of a video magazine. I have some ideas, some plans, and you can help me and grow with me on that. So that's the good. Of course, the bad is that our infrastructure, you know, is at risk. Our economy is at risk because the supply chains is being highly disrupted. Cost of some things will go up, cost of other things will go down. Some things won't be available. Gas prices are going down. That's part of the good, I guess, unless you are an oil company or you've got stock in oil companies, which most people do with their 401ks and such. But my friends, the world is changing. So we've got to be resilient. We've got to adapt to it. We've got to learn new ways. And, you know, I always tell you on this channel, my goal is to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. With this COVID-19, the survival is immunity and hygiene. That's your main gambits for survival. Yeah, it does affect older people more. You might say, Greg, I'm a younger guy, so I don't have to worry. Well, if you're smoking, if you're obese, if you sit in your couch and play games, you know, on your little phone or whatever, computer all day long, you're right out in the sun, yeah, you're no better off. You will be at risk. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just it's just a point. I hear all these excuses all the time. So quit making excuses. Get out and do something. You know, get off your duff and get yourself in shape. Go outside, spend some time outdoors, breathe some fresh air, and get your immune system up. Do the good hygiene. But if you're sick, or you think you might be sick, you need to know. You need to find out. And don't go visit that elderly aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, father, mother until you know you're clear, because they are at risk. What you're going to lose is a lot of loved ones in a situation like this, and you don't want that. You don't want that at all. That is a tragedy. That's the ugly. That is the ugly. The ugly is that we stand our chance to lose a lot of our loved and valued members of our society. And it's not just old people. We're losing doctors, medical staff, because they're being highly exposed to this. If you're talking 10 to 15% people that are critically ill, my friends, a lot of these people have permanent health damages and effects from this disease. It may debilitate a lot of them for years to come. So, this is not something to take lightly in any fashion. It does have the bad and the ugly. They are there. They're part of it. And, even though you might be cavalier about it yourself, you do have to keep in mind, you bear the responsibility to keep it from spreading to other people as much as you can. That is your responsibility. And you need to take that responsibility to heart. That's one of the reasons I'm at home right now. I think I'm good, though. So, of course, you can be asymptomatic. You can have lots of symptoms. There's no testing available. Right? I can't go take a test for this. That's one of the reasons I don't believe the numbers here in America. I think, given the spread, it's not very likely that it would be in my area just yet. Like my work area, is it in my town? Probably. They don't show any cases in Alabama. Is it in Alabama? Yeah, I'd say it is. Is it in Huntsville, Alabama? Yeah, I'd say it probably is. How widely spread is it? Don't know. How can we know? We're not testing like that. So hopefully we'll know when they start. When all these new test kits hit, we're probably going to see a huge spike in American cases. But at least we'll know where we're at, and then we can treat it better. I hope we get this thing under control. But there's going to be that tension between containment and maintenance of the economy. That tension is going to be there as long as this virus is out there, or something like it. But this is our chance to learn the lessons of it. We don't need to work in an office where we're all looking at each other face to face. We can change the paradigms for how we operate in society, where there's gatherings and things like that. How we do so many things, our manufacturing, how we do our service support economy. There's huge opportunities in changing how we operate. And as we change how we operate in these areas, it makes us less susceptible as a society, as individuals, for other similar things to come behind us, be it a bird flu, Ebola, or disease X, Lord only knows what it might be. And that's what I'm telling you. That's why I'm telling you that you need to embrace, and I guess that is the message of this video. You need to embrace these changes. You need to embrace the kind of way that we need to live. You need to be proactive in making it aware in your office space. It makes more sense to work from home. It makes more sense to do this on a regular basis. It makes more sense. I'll tell you something, the companies that really learn that they can exist without a lot of infrastructure can reduce their overhead rate a lot. And from my experience and some things I've done, you will find your employees may actually be far more productive, which means your company might whip the pants off its competition once you get past these cultural inertia ideas that you have to do things in brick and mortar facilities. No, you don't need that. And it's so 20th century. Forget about it. Come on, let's get over it. Let's move into a future. Kind of funny to hear that from Green Rigs, right? Now, I'm not anti-technology. I'm for appropriate technology. But I also know a lot of it is we have forgotten and walked away from a lot of things that we need to hold dear to, and it's growing your own food. It's very important for your own resiliency. Also, low tech has a good place on Earth and in space. And I can go into that more in Galactic in the future. We'll talk about these kind of things. But technology has its appropriateness, but just because it's technology doesn't automatically make it good. We'd have to use our minds and understand what we're doing and what we're dealing with and how it works and what we want to accept into our lives. That is the critical thing about it. I mean, I'm using technology. I'm reaching you right now through the internet, through computer systems, servers, networks. I'm using a computer to record this video. and it's all being digitized. This is all technology, but through the use of this, I'm able to reach out to you and educate you on means to stay alive, thrive, and out of the hive. So these are important things that I'm able to get across to you. I can show you techniques of how to grow. I can show you techniques of many things, and we can discuss and have open discussions about what it means for our society moving forward. And I'm going to start also another series, by the way. I think I'm going to try to start a series for just, I'm going to try it experimentally first, just kind of an open chat where we just get together and have a little chat session, where it's maybe not topic driven to start with, where we just have a chat. There are other channels that do that. So we'll see how that goes. And I might do that tonight. And so my notion is, if I can, to do it Wednesdays at 9 p.m. And that may be a little too early for me because I have a lot of schedule pressures in my life, but that's kind of what I'm working with. And I'm a guy who likes alliteration. So I kind of toyfully playing around with the title, and I'm thinking about calling it Woden's Woken Wednesdays. So no, Woden's Woken World. Woden's Woken World. No, I'm not. It's not a religious thing, my friends. It's just I love alliteration. I'm just playing on a lot of people to say that I look like Woden or Gandalf or Santa Claus. Actually, Woden or Odin, however you want to call him, was one of the two roots of the Santa Claus character, him and Saint Nicholas, with Odin being the older of the two roots. So, so anyway, I'm just having fun, guys. Don't take it seriously. If you are taking it seriously, if you find this offensive, tell me. It's not my intention to offend anyone. I'm not. I do have prayer sessions on this channel where we're praying for the world, peace, and health, things like that. But I'm not denomination. I'll let you know I do believe in a greater creator. But I try not to get into specifics because that's not what this channel is. You know, maybe I may do another channel in the future, but that has not. This channel is here to help everyone. And I don't want creed or religion to get in the way of that, because I'm here to try to help everyone. That is the purpose of this channel. So don't, if I do something, like this channel, that video series, look, I like alliteration, okay? Always have. So there's a play on words and other things. I'm just having fun. And I think that's a good way to have a chat. Start it out and be a little fun, because, I've got the attitude, my friends, and in the worst of adversity, keep some sense of humor. It keeps your immune system up. It keeps your perspective positive. Helps you move forward and survive through the rough times. We shouldn't always be, and I tell you, don't ever panic, because when you panic, you get stupid, and you got to have your thinking clear. A panicked person does dumb things. You're not smart. You get hurt. Don't panic. Even if you're fighting, don't panic. The panic fighter loses. Maintain your composure. Be centered with yourself. That is the key. Stay centered. Don't panic. Don't get scared. Be prepared. I always tell you that. But to know what's coming, I always say keep your eyes wide open, head on a swivel. All right. And I may do another series. I'm really thinking about having a little fun. Can't you laugh at apocalypse? So would it offend people if I created a kind of a weather forecast series and laced it with humor about kind of things coming? That's the whole purpose of being. Would that offend people? I don't know. So this is a long video. If you made it this far, just say, tell me I'm awoke at the end. Say I'm awoke. Of course, no, I don't think everybody would be saying that. Let's say coffee keeps me woken. And I'll know you watched it this far. That's a little different than the one that was laid on us. Yeah, coffee. See, I even got chocolate covered coffee beans here. I don't take my sleep lying down. I take it in a cup. Anyway, so my friends, we went long. We've covered a lot of ground. If you trust what I tell you, if you believe my message, then I'm sure you'd want to hear more. If you want to see more of my videos, then in that case, subscribe to my channel. Click all under the update notifications. Hit the update notification bell and click all. Bang the bell. Bang the bell and click all under the update notifications. That way you can be sure that you have a greater prospect for getting notifications for new videos that I bring out. But, you know, YouTube likes to unsubscribe people, and sometimes they just don't like to share notifications. I hear reports that a lot from my subscribers. So I do check my channel from time to time to see what's new, to see what's up. I do that because I'm noticing I don't get notifications from some of the channels I like the most when they're putting out a new video or when they're live. And so I try to check them a little bit from time to time. And I may go live, and you know, it is right now 7:01 my time. I may go live shortly after this is posted. I'm not sure yet, but I do have that idea for that 9 o'clock session, and it is Wednesday. I hope it don't take too long to get this thing loaded. And I actually have somewhere else I need to go to this evening between times. So we'll see how that works. Anyway, thank you, my friends, and hang in there. We'll get through this together. We're going to work to develop tribes. We're going to do other things. We're going to continue to pray. I will give you tidbits from time to time to tell you things you can do to take action and keep our world safe. So let's hang in there. We're a community. We're not just a channel here that's here to talk. We can do that. We can also learn, but we're here as a community. So thank you for coming along. I want everyone to have an awesome night. Leave me comments below, especially on some of these new shows, series I'm thinking about doing. If you don't like some of the titles and things I'm playing around, say so. Tell me why. So again, thank you everyone for watching.